So, this is also a period for back to school for students, parents, and teachers, and also for the residents and merchants adjacent to the school zones. So I wish you all a productive period with much learning, some necessary and much useful trial and error, motivating you to get back on your feet and leaping higher than you ever thought possible until then, expanding your horizons while growing a proven network of collaborators and so much more. School is a laboratory and the construction site of all of your best projects and aspirations, present and future. So meet the challenges with fierce determination and glee, and may 2023 to 2024 be the best school year ever. In this sense, we've also been receiving increased communications from residents on Belle Rive, so this is adjacent to Mount Pleasant Elementary School, asking for traffic calming measures and also that we discourage throughway traffic. So I ask parents who drive their children to school to be particularly careful this school year, as it is a narrow throughway and it is not always easy to see children, young children, short children, getting out of cars and safely into the schoolyard. So we need your help to help us with this. And in this way, Marie-Jacinthe and la directrice of the elementary school tomorrow and the SQ officer will be meeting as well to look at ways to collaborate together on how to make that a safer area. Also, due to the current heat wave, the community center was open this afternoon and will be open again tomorrow all day from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for people who are looking for a cool place to spend a few hours. I remind you that emergency numbers are provided for on the town's website. And please always remember that for life-threatening emergencies, you dial 911. For public work emergencies, 311. And for the community patrol, 514-219-5383. With regards to our progress on the RCI for protecting of natural areas of interest, we continue to aim for the adoption of the first draft at the regular November Council meeting. A public presentation will be held in November, and we anticipate that the adoption will take place at the regular Council meeting in December of this year. This will be followed by a period of 120 days for the region, so the MRC, to review our bylaws for conformity to their bylaws and their master plan. So in effect, it could take until approximately mid-March of 2024 for us to receive the certificate of compliance and for that bylaw or those bylaws to come into effect. Last month, in August, there were two public meetings, one held on Monday, August 21st, where a public presentation on the SDC was given to local business owners and organizations, where we presented our progress to date on removing administrative obstacles for the operations of this SDC, which stands for Société de Développement Commercial, and to provide the tools to support the revival of this SDC. As suggested at the meeting, a survey was sent out to determine levels of interest for the Hudson SDC. To date, we have received 28 responses out of 111 businesses and organizations that I have in hand with the SDC area and also outside of the SDC area. So this represents a 25% response rate to date, with a 64% support for the SDC, and where 5 people are interested in submitting their candidacies to the SDC to be part of the board of directors. From memory and simple calculations, there are amounts that are still available from the old rolling fund of the SDC, so they have a bank account, but also within the town's funds as well. So there would be a founding amount with which to roll in 2024, depending on a common vision or a common action that the group of business owners would like to take on together. So we will continue in this sense and look to bring to the business community a person to help rally around this central idea. An invitation to a workshop in this sense will be sent out in weeks to come. Did you have anything to add, Peter, to this? Also, the following day, on Tuesday of August 22nd, there was the second public conversation on how to develop differently, where in April, there was the first one with, there was an exchange between myself and Luc Maurice, who is the owner and founder of Le Groupe Maurice, the retirement homes that we see through Quebec. This time around, Anne Dessureau and Sylvain Deschanaux came to introduce their project, their dream, to Hudson. These are two very special people, a developer and a person who has worked for a long time for a well-established firm and who is looking for a retirement project. She's fallen in love with Hudson and is looking to determine whether there is sufficient demand in Hudson to support such a project. They're looking at a project that wouldn't be any smaller than 75 units, but at this time they have no property that belong to them or insight on which to develop this project. So we're talking many years away, but it's interesting that they're starting to come and meet with us, but also we're interested in meeting the community to see whether there was a fit. So I encourage you to continue to attend these conversations if these are topics that interest you and to bring your voice to these reflections. Also last month, we adopted changes to the nuisance bylaw where there was a reduction in hours for the use of construction equipment and lawn maintenance or yard maintenance tools, where on evenings of weekdays, the hours were reduced from 9 p.m. to 8 p.m. So that is the maximum hour to which you can mow your lawns or make noise. And also where noise from those equipment is forbidden between 4 p.m. and 9 a.m. on weekends. Also, please note that such property maintenance and construction tools are prohibited on public holidays. Also, lawn cutting is mandatory and to be kept below 12 inches in height. So this, of course, is in response to some of the larger properties in the center of town that were starting to have an unkempt look. We had no other measure but to simply send letters. Now we have a better tool through which we can actually send a notice, but also a notice of infraction. This evening's agenda, you'll notice that there are 10 TPAC files. Peter Mate and the TPAC committee have been very busy. And we are also tabling two sets of meeting minutes, the minutes for July and the special meeting in August of 2023. From memory, I believe the special meeting covered the file for the extension at the back of the presbytery. Was that it? This was the present that the community of St. Thomas Church was looking to offer to Père Demers in his retirement. So I believe that went through, and they should be at the permit, the construction permit phase. Also, you'll notice this evening that there is refinancing for multiple loan bylaws as these come due each 5 years for refinancing at current interest rates. Also at item 4.4, you'll see that as per each year, we begin with the Treasurer's report with regards to properties for which 2022 property taxes are not paid up. These include, I believe, 2023 property taxes as well. A notice letter was issued to the property owners, and the next step will be for an updated list of these properties through resolution at the next council meeting on October 5th. So essentially, this is a gradual moving towards if those accounts for 2022 are not paid up by the end of this period, those properties must be put up for sale so that the town can recuperate the property taxes. So you'll see that next council meeting, October 5th, there will be then the list of these properties. Hopefully these will have reduced. And where the third and last step is on November 16th, there will be a public notice that will be issued for the sale of these remaining properties in default for 2022, giving another last 30-day notice. So if you take November 16th, add 30 days, brings us to around the middle of December. But it is important that people pay attention to this list. The last step, so for the sale of those properties, that is handled by the region, so by the MRC. I'm looking at our town clerk to make sure, since it's a legal file, that I have been clear and I have not made any mistakes, and so far I'm receiving nods. So at the table to our right, you will notice that Marie-Jacinthe Roberge, our directrice générale, our assistante adjointe, en fait, is with us. We are starting our 4th month together, I believe. Is it 4th, really? It goes fast. And so this is in our transition period where, if everything continues to go as well as it is going now, Marie-Jacinthe will be named our Director General in permanence. You'll notice that Martin Houd, while he is our acting Director General by interim, is not here this evening. He's letting us fly of our own wings without him keeping us in line. And I feel very well supported by Marie-Jacinthe and Mrs. McKercher. And I believe that we are well on our way to a successful long-term partnership. So thank you again. Merci à vous deux encore. As you know, I have multiple pages. I'm looking at Reed. He's my timekeeper. I will mention that Pine Lake is a file that we had hoped to bring to a public consultation or conversation or presentation this month again. As mentioned in months past, the engineering contract offer was extended to September 25th of 2023 for the last time. We don't expect, or I don't expect, that this deadline will be met. So I believe that this submittal will be forfeited. Also, we are receiving the results of the financial portrait, which we mandated RCGT to perform for us. So we are receiving this on September 18th, and a presentation from them. So council will be presented this portrait by RCGT. But it is important for us to see the full present status of where we stand with regards to our long-term debt and our capacity to continue to take on these larger projects and the ultimate prioritization that we should be taking on. So we want to be taking the right decisions at the right time in consideration with the present fiscal capacity of the town, and very conscious of the extra burden that any of these projects could put on to the backs of our taxpayers, and also the impact that these will have on infrastructure that needs to be upgraded and maintained, and our present assets that are also in poor shape. So I know this is not news that is going to be pleasing to some people, but please know that we are taking the appropriate amount of time and taking our job seriously in making these decisions. I hope to have further news for you next month with regards to the next steps in this file. With regards to public works, you've noticed that road work has started this week. There is approximately 2.8 kilometers being redone in Hudson this fall. So these are streets such as Butternut, Blankenship, and these are segments again, so do not presume that the entire length is being done. Also, there's a segment on Pine, on Oakland, Charleswood, Forest Views, Sterling, Windcrest. And I know that some people would like to be placed next on the priority list, but the only intervention that this council took on with regards to in which order these were taken is we asked that key and main access ways, so main corridors, be addressed first. That is how Main Street East was widened and resurfaced last year, and also a part of Côte Saint Charles completed last year. With regards to how future secondary and tertiary roads will be done and in which sequence, we are leaving this in the hands of our Director of Public Works, and we'll be looking as well to the Maxim report. So this is the inventory of the condition of all the roads and all of the pipes that are underneath, where this is updated every 5 years. This report has just been updated. I've only seen the table with the numbers, but I haven't seen the final report. And from there, there will be an adjustment on the lists of streets and priorities that are being seen. So hopefully we'll be able to give you an update on that as well. If you have any suggestions on why a street should happen first, we're always interested in hearing, but usually we go with which streets is in porous shape, which streets has elements underneath them that already need repair, and which streets will not make it through the snow removal period. So, and also obviously anything that is within a corridor of key security access. With regards to Lakeview, I have not received any updates, except that I think what is important to understand is that the possibility of, or the fact that we are adding a multi-purpose lane to Lakeview has incurred a certain amount of these delays. We believe that it is a substantial improvement for the sector. It is something that will encourage children and parents to continue to walk safely along our streets. But also this program, the subsidy program that we reached for and that we've obtained to date from the federal level, is a new program. So the form that needs to be filled at the provincial level wasn't completed or wasn't ready even up until a couple of months ago. So the delays are really administrative. It's between the federal and the provincial level. Vaudreuil-Dorion is running into exactly the same delays that we are. So I know it sounds a little bit silly, short of ridiculous, but it is a form that is keeping this process or this project from moving forward. As I mentioned last month, the town was prepared to launch the work last month. We had to remove a resolution from our agenda because if we begin any work before we have that final provincial approval, that work will not be will not count in the subsidy, and we would pay full price. I think I'd mentioned the progress made on the RCI. I've mentioned the advisory committee for TPAC. The circulation committee, I believe, is meeting September 12th, and I remind everyone that if you have any requests for review by this committee, these must be submitted in writing to Town Hall, and hopefully eventually we will have a form online that will be easy for people to fill in and submit. But until then, please submit your requests for review to Town Hall, and these will be distributed to the 2 council members and the other members on that committee. With regards to the Seniors Committee, Marie-Jacinthe has prepared me some lovely information, so I will read it, and it's in French, so maybe I'll do that in French for fun. Le Comité des Aînés de Hudson, so that's the Seniors Committee, which is where Benoit sits on it, and it is organized and run by Laura McCaffrey, who's here at the back of our room. Le Comité des Aînés de Hudson est fier de présenter la première de sa série de présentations mensuelles destinées aux aînés, à leurs enfants et aux aidants, le mercredi 13 septembre. Le sujet de ce mois-ci est « Voyage pour les aînés » avec conférencière Kim Grenier de Voyage le village Hudson. La présentation se fera en anglais et en français et débutera à 19h au centre communautaire. So this is to say that there will be a series of presentations, monthly presentations that are destined or are oriented to the elders, their children, and their helpers. This first one will take place on Wednesday, September 13th, and the topic will be voyages, so trips for the elderly, where the conference giver, Kim Grenier of the Village Hudson Voyages, will be giving the presentation in English and in French, and this will start at 7 p.m. here at the Community Center. Also, the Seniors Committee has created a postcard which will be sent to all households in Hudson, informing people of the automatic call system that the town has so that they can more easily avail themselves to this system. So most of you have probably by now signed up to this system. If you haven't, you can find the section on the town's website. You can click on what you would like to receive as notice, but essentially, for example, each time we open the community center, we would send out, it's what we call our robocall. There's also other ways for you to sign up to our weekly bulletins, but there's multiple other bulletins available as well. So just know that there will be a postcard posted in the next few days.
Oui, on
And there's an example right here in front of Marie-Jacinthe. And thank you, Laura, for getting that done. All right. With regards to decisional committees, depending on the outcome of tonight's 2 replacement projects in the Town Planning Advisory section, a public notice to convene the demolition committee will be published and a meeting will be called. So keep your eyes open for this. Also, with regards to the Cultural Policy Committee, we had our first meeting in June. The second meeting was anticipated to take place on September 13th. We will have to reschedule that date as we have been extremely busy with a long list of activities and events, and we need to give our Director of Culture and Recreation a little bit of prep time. She's been very busy with the pool all summer, which has not been an easy task. Also Canada Day, which got rained out, unfortunately, at the very last minute, and also Hudson Day, which was just last week, and Porch Fest this coming weekend. So it's a lot on her hands at this time of the year, and it would be best for us to set that back maybe a couple of weeks, but an email will be sent out to the members. With regards to upcoming activities, there is a long list of activities that are coming up this month. I encourage you to look online. So starting next Saturday, there will be Porch Fest in the heart of the village. There will be also a hub market held in Como at the Hudson Creative Hub, also on Saturday, September 9th. On September 13th to 24th, there will be the greatest play in the history of the world at the Hudson Village Theatre. On the 14th of September at Whitlock, there is the Palliative Care Residence Golf Tournament. So this is a fundraiser for the palliative care home. On September 16th, there will be Greenwood's Treasures in the Kitchen. On the same day, September 16th, there will be the War Memorial Library Annual Arts Sale at the Community Center, so here. The following day, September 17th, there will be an activity at the Heartbeat Farm. It says here, tourne. Anyway, there is something happening at the Heartbeat Farm. On the following day, September 18th, there is the Birdie Golf Tournament in support of Le Nichois, also at Whitlock. I believe that Doug is going to this. This is great. And on September 23rd, there will be Hudson Garden Club plant sale at Cardinal Brewing. So just here at Cardinals. And on September 25th, there will be Mondays at the Movies at the Hudson Village Theatre. Also, the town of Hudson will be participating at the Festival of Soup this Sunday in Notre-Dame-d'Île-Perrot. And we invite people to come in large numbers and to vote for our soup. This year, the soup will be made by the Hudson Food Collective. It is a delicious tomato and calendula. I feel there's a flour and roasted buckwheat, but it's a vegan soup.
Remember in French, capucine.
Capucine, so that is it. It's I see, nasturtium, thank you, nasturtium. And so anyway, it's vegan, it's homemade, and we're very excited, and we plan on winning. So please come and vote for us. And also, last item, there will be a distribution of trees by the city on Friday, September 22nd, in order to support the National Day of the Tree, which takes place, I believe it's Wednesdays, September 20th. I was reading up on that today. So each year, there is an annual tree day, a national Tree Day. And so the town will be distributing 100 trees. Residents must be signed up first, and priority will be given to people who did not collect trees in the spring distribution. So the location is still yet to be confirmed, but the distribution of the trees will take place between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., and sign up will start soon. Ça va? Est-ce qu'il y avait d'autres points que vous vouliez? Oui, vas-y.
I will have my district meeting on September 19.
Ah, very good. And it falls on what day?
I think it's a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, that's a Tuesday.
Monday, Tuesday.
So Tuesday.
And it's
Here.
It's here. Okay, so District 2, Benoit Blais will be holding his district meeting here on Tuesday evening, I would think.
7.
At 7 p.m., September
19.
19th. And you will see more announcements to this effect. Are there any other? No? No. All right. So thank you, everyone. I had a lovely letter for you, and maybe I'll just read the one paragraph, because it relates, I know, but it relates to how much I appreciate the counselors. So, okay, see, I told you. There were 2 paragraphs, actually, on you. I'm going to pick it. Here we go. Well, the last 23 months have been heavy going at times, transferring files and collective memory from one DG to the next, so Director General to the next, and while supporting the necessary yet organic restructuring that comes with each managerial hand, the common thread has been council members by my side. Their support and ask for higher quality of service, regular follow-ups, and well-placed and well-toned questions. So I'd like to thank you all for your patience. I know it hasn't always been easy, but I believe that together we form an extraordinary team, and to date it has been a good, for me, it has been a very positive experience, so thank you very much. All right, moving on to adoption of the agenda, item 1.1. Oui?
May I take 2 seconds?
Yes.
That clock.
I know, it's not working, but I think the battery is out.
No, it's moving, just not on time.
So I have to say that it's very disturbing for us because the wall says that it is 6:40 and it is 7:57. That's still not the right time. You have to move
No.
the...
That's a small needle is the hours.
That's much better. But I think, yeah, no. And also perhaps to mention there are about a dozen people in the room and 17 people online, so forming about 30 people. All right, thank you, Doug. I'm sure it's a battery issue, so it will lose time again. No,
Anyways.
we'll see. All right. So I will need a mover and a seconder for the agenda. So Reed Thompson, seconded by Peter Mate, that the agenda of the regular council meeting of September 5th of 2023 be in here and is hereby adopted as submitted et en français.
Adoption de l'ordre du jour. Alors, la présente résolution vise à adopter l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du Conseil du 5 septembre 2023.
Merci. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hands. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Moving to Section 2, Confirmation of Minutes, Item 2.1, Confirmation of the August 7th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Whereas Council has reviewed the minutes of that meeting, the resolution is that the minutes of the Council meeting held on August 7th, 2023 be and is hereby approved as submitted. Do I have a mover and a seconder? So Marc Gray, seconded by Benoit Blais, it's starting already. En français.
Alors, la section 2, approbation des procès-verbaux. 2.1, adoption du procès-verbal de la séance ordinaire du 7 août 2023. Alors, le Conseil a vérifié le procès-verbal et la présente résolution vise à adopter le procès-verbal de la séance ordinaire du 7 août 2023 tel que soumis.
Merci. Vous avez pris les 2 personnes qui ont proposé et secondé.
Oui.
Okay. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So entering first question period for those who haven't been here before. So I need you to speak into the microphone so that people who are online also hear. I will alternate going from inside this room to online. So please stand if you'd like to speak in the first question period.
So new to Hudson, my first council meeting, so I want to make sure that I have the procedure proper, not to take up too much time because I know there's a lot of items on the agenda. My project is 20 Main, and I think it's second on the list. And I'm just wondering if I'll have a chance to speak to that at any point while that's being discussed, or if I have to sit and wait till the very end. I did provide a letter have taught and my passion for the community and how much resources and planning and hope we've put into making Hudson our new home. I don't know that every council member had the privilege of reading my heartfelt pour out after a couple of glasses of rosé, but I know that I did give it to Melissa, and I know that TPAC received it, so I'm hoping that that letter was in the package that you all received from Melissa. And yeah, so just let me know when I can say my piece, and I had sparkling water tonight, no rosé, so I won't babble on, I promise.
And your name?
Thank you.
Your name?
Janine Gold.
Janine Gold.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So procedure is, there are 2 question periods, one at the beginning that usually addresses the items that are on the agenda. So you've done the right thing. You've asked a question, essentially, have we received the letter? And then the resolutions will be read and adopted in whichever way that they fall. And at the end of the meeting, there is a last question period where on decisions that were made, then you could ask questions. I hope that is clear.
So if any of the council members had a question for me, how would I know about that?
That would already have taken place. So if there were any questions or requests for clarifications, usually, so in TPAC, I believe you came to present your project with your...
Yes, I did. I presented
So that was one opportunity,
virtually.
right, where the members of TPAC could ask you and your designer on any clarifications that they wanted. And then we meet about a week before this council meeting to review all of the documents. We meet as a council. And any time that there is a need for clarifications, or if there's something that is unclear that we would like additional information, we will ask then our Director General to seek that extra information, and that will be provided to us in the week ahead of tonight. That's usually how that happens. So I haven't heard that there's any additional questions that came up with regards to your project. And to your question on the letter, I believe the members of TPAC received it. I have not seen it, but I know how heartfelt you are. You came to the coffee with the mayor a couple of months ago, and it was delightful to have you amongst us, and you bring a good value.
I did give it to our new Director General. Is that the right way?
No,
right
that's fine.
Right
That
title?
works. She'll like it. She'll
And
say
if
yes.
she could circulate that amongst,
Yes. I haven't seen your letter before, but I'll make sure that...
Yeah, I'm sure we'll receive it in our inbox
I'd read it,
tomorrow.
but I get emotional, and so if you could share it with everybody, that would be super. Yeah, thank you so much.
That is great. Thank you, Janine. I see there's a hand up online.
Kyle Verboomenen. So.
Please ask your question.
Thanks, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm a Hudson resident. A school has just started here at Westwood Senior High School. I have 2 questions, one being on the crosswalk for Crescent and Main, and the second is understanding what kinds of discussions you've already started with the school principal just to ensure everything is safe and the school students are cooperating nicely on the street of Crescent. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. So interestingly enough, I walked to Westwood Senior this morning with my daughter, who just started as well. So it's a new pattern for me. It's kind of fun to see the big kids now. But my understanding, and I will give Marie-Jacinthe la parole in a minute, but my understanding is that although there had been an offer from the director of the school to meet ahead of the school opening, there simply was no time on their part because they're so busy filling their roster with staff and also getting the place prepared. So unfortunately, there wasn't any preparatory meetings that took place, but I know that Marie-Jacinthe has been very active in making sure that she can schedule one rapidly with them. But in case things have changed, this is the update that I received last Thursday, I believe. So in case there's been more to the file, veux-tu rajouter
Nothing new
quelque
for
chose?
now. I will meet Sûreté du Québec tomorrow, so we'll talk about Mount Pleasant and Westwood Senior for sure. And we'll see if it's necessary to give more hours to Groupe Sûreté also, and we'll try to work with l'Aiguillage or other people in Vaudreuil-Soulanges. But clearly, it's not an easy issue, for sure. But we'll work on that.
It's going to take constant, I think, looking into it and keeping it together. I think it's also important to know that with the SQ, we have a godfather. They call it le parrain. So he is the person who sits on the circulation committee with our 2 councillors. He is the person who will be joining Marie-Jacinthe tomorrow, and also our director of public works in meeting with Mount Pleasant. And so this is why she mentioned that as she will be meeting with him tomorrow, she will certainly approach the question of Westwood Senior and make sure that they can be active on site rapidly, but also Marie-Jacinthe has been very active in keeping our community patrol, I would say on a tighter leash, but that might not be the nice way to say it, but she has been keeping on their heels, that's probably a better way to say it, and asking them to really follow up and to track certain troubled areas or hotter spots on the territory. So thank you for your question, but we hope to have more to offer next meeting. I think that's the best I can do at this time.
Et je vais donner du temps à l'école de commencer aussi. Là.
Oui. So give the time to give the school some time also to begin and to get rolling and see how they organize themselves as well. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I'm just anticipating lots of garbage, lots of kids on the street, and just hoping that citizens can find a way to organize themselves rather than finding ways to complaining every month. So we're just looking forward to working together.
And you are calling from which, are you a resident on Crescent?
Yes, I'm a resident on Crescent.
Okay.
So I'm speaking on behalf of a number of neighbors who feel the same way.
Okay, excellent. That's helpful. I would encourage you either to send me an email so I can put you in contact with Marie-Jacinthe, and it might be an interesting way to sort of keep an active group around that so that it doesn't get out of hand again as it has in the past.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Question in the room? Yep.
I don't know if you're aware, but when I often use Siri to guide me to go somewhere, and Siri often guides me to take the shortcut to go through Mount Pleasant, take Mount Pleasant up and cut across as the shortest way to go wherever I want to go. And I don't know if there's something that can be done about that. I mean, I don't like doing it because of the school, because I know it's a residential area, but I know there are trucks. There's all kinds of people who maybe don't know Hudson, and when they're looking for guidance of how to get out and to go to wherever else they want to go, so I don't know if there's something we can do in the kind of signage that we put up, and even, I don't know who controls this Google Maps and instructions, because I'm sure that's a great source of grief for that street.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Helen, because similarly, I think Waze was directing also people towards construction sites in the region, so misdirecting them if you want. So I think that's an excellent suggestion, and we can certainly look into it. I don't know how we
can control that, but it would help a lot.
I think there is a way. There must be a number where they can be contacted, and absolutely. Thank you. Helpful. There was a person online as well who had questions.
John Manning. John Manning, you have the floor.
John Manning, you're welcome to speak. You're muted. Oh, no? Yes, you are muted. You have to unmute. My eyes.
Sorry.
Oh. Hi.
Yes, Your Honour Mayoress and members of the council. My name is John Manning. I manned a booth on behalf of the Masonic organisation on the day.
On Hudson Day.
Yes, that's right. And I thought that it was supposed to be a festival and that it would be for the people to walk in the streets and so forth and so forth. But I was really shocked by the amount of traffic that came through on Main Road and absolutely downtown. and there were people trying to cross the road, and the traffic was really bad. So I thought that perhaps you were trying to do everything for everybody, and I don't think that is the really way it was meant to be. If I think about last year, where we had the ESQ on their horses, we had lots of people in the town. There were the traffic was blocked off in certain areas, and I think that if there are any complaints from the merchants, they should think about this. More people coming into town will buy their products, so they shouldn't be complaining about not having traffic. We could make arrangements. I'm sure the fire department and the public security could make arrangements to have parking on the off streets, and so leave the town its main road for people. That was my concern, and I hope that it will have your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Several merchants and store owners have been saying that when we close the streets, that it has an impact on their bottom line for the weekend or the day where it is closed. You're right, we're trying to find a balance for everyone. And it is a constant work in progress, but this is where it would be very helpful for us to have this SDC, so the Société de Développement Commercial, so that really that discussion can happen within the business community, and then there would be a single voice or a single position that could come to council. We're doing our best to answer to a lot of different comments and different positions that come our way. So we try a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it is impossible for us to please everyone, but it is also important for us to take into consideration that there are a lot of merchants out there who do make a certain amount of business on the weekend, and it's not helpful when we close the streets.
If I can just respond, you know, I thought that Hudson Day was supposed to be a festival, and traffic coming up and down the main road is hardly a festival. And the merchants, I don't know why they complain. It's only 3 or 4 hours that they would shut the streets. And they really don't get the big picture. The big picture is the more people that come into town, the better it will be for them. So again, it's an economic thing, and if they can get the big picture, well, good on them. But please ask them not to complain all the time, because it is a festival. It only happens once a year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Are there other questions in the room? No. Any more questions online? I don't see any. No. Laura's usually here. Now she's tucked in behind my husband's head. I see her. All right, so thank you. Moving on to Section 3, Urban Planning and Environment. This is where I get to hand over the microphone to Peter Mate, who's the president of the Town Planning Advisory Committee. So item 3.1, 98 Elm, minor exemption. Peter?
Before I start with item 3.1, I'm just going to go through you know, whenever we have approvals, everybody's happy, but when there are refusals, there are a lot of questions. So I'm going to go out and say right now that if there are any refusals, you're always welcome to reach out to me, and I'm going to have a one-on-one chat with you guys if you want to get some more details about what were the sticking points. So that goes for every single month. You could either reach me through my District 3 email address or my phone number that's on the Town of Hudson website. So that being said, we'll start with 98 Elm, 3.1. So 3.1, 98 Elm, minor exemption. So it's a minor exemption request that received to authorize a front setback of 6.82 meters instead of the required minimum of 9 meters. TPAC reviewed this on August 8th and was unanimous in the recommendation to approve the minor exemption request. So in accordance with the regulation in force, interested parties in this proceeding are invited to be heard by council.
Entre la section 3, urbanisme et environnement, 3.1, 98 Elm, dérogation mineure. Alors, une demande de dérogation mineure a été reçue pour le 98 Elm afin d'autoriser une marge de recul avant de 6,82 mètres au lieu du minimum de 9 mètres. Le comité consultatif d'urbanisme a traité le dossier le 8 août 2023 et la recommandation unanime du CCU est d'approuver la demande de dérogation mineure. Alors, conformément à la réglementation en vigueur, les personnes présentes et intéressées par la présente demande sont invitées à se faire entendre par le Conseil.
So if there's anyone in the room who would like to speak to this request, this is your opportunity to stand at the microphone and be heard. And the same thing if you're online and would like to bring your comments, this is the appropriate time to do so. There are none online, there are none in the room. So we will proceed. Do you want me to call out? So we will need a mover and a seconder. Mark Gray moves, seconded by Reed Thompson, the approval of the minor exemption as submitted and to reimburse the fees related to the minor exemption request. And I might explain that the reason for the reimbursement of the fees is because this was a nonconformity that was the result of a permit request in 1974 where when you add up the dimensions on the plan that were done by hand, it is missing 10 feet. So essentially, this is something that was discovered at the time of sale. So the owner put his property up for sale, needed a surveyor. The surveyor found the nonconformity. And so the owner of this property has come forward and asked for this minor derogation to make their house conforming. This is almost 50 years later. And so essentially this is why it was recommended for approval, but also the recommendation that came through the technical department, but also I believe TPAC, was that the fee for a minor derogation, which is usually $1,000, be waived or reimbursed in this case. So, are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. J'ai oublié la partie en français, je suis désolée.
Alors, la présente résolution vise à approuver la demande de dérogation mineure et de rembourser les frais reliés à la demande de dérogation mineure. Et ce remboursement est effectué dû à une non-conformité qui a été effectuée en 1974. Et quelques années plus tard, lorsqu'on a demandé un certificat de localisation, on a réalisé cette non-conformité-là. Et donc, le certificat de localisation n'avait pas besoin de la dérogation mineure suite à la correction qui a été apportée par le service. Alors, pour cette raison, la Ville entend couvrir les frais.
Bon, Monsieur Smith a une question. Doug?
This is a new one for me in terms of, I understand the derogation request and the granting of the request, but the refunding of the fees is...
It was a clerical error in 1974. So it shouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been approved in 1974 had the proper math been done. So now they're finding themselves in a situation that, in good faith, they basically fell into. So it's not them that created it.
Were they the owners in 74?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that matters necessarily, but...
So I'm against.
But we already voted.
Pardon?
We already voted.
Well, no, I was waiting for a moment of clarification after the translation. I didn't think that the vote would come before the translation. But...
Est-ce qu'on reprend
okay.
le vote?
It's fine.
Est-ce qu'on reprend le vote?
Mais le vote est enregistré.
Le vote est enregistré. All right.
C'est correct.
All right. Item 3.2, 20 Main Spape Replacement Plan. This is the project of Janine, who came to the microphone just a few minutes ago, so I'll let Peter make the presentation.
So the owners of 20 Main want to demolish the existing house in order to build single-family construction. The demolition request to come will be subject to the demolition committee. An approbation request was received for a preliminary program for the utilization of the vacant land at 20 Main. TPAC committee's recommendation by majority was to refuse the SPAPE. The unfulfilled criteria were to favor a rural or country architectural character with high-pitched roofs and exterior siding materials to be in harmony with neighboring buildings and the environment, to ensure that exterior finished materials are in harmony with the architecture of the building and that their number be reduced to a minimum. I could reread it slower. It'll be in writing. So to favor a rural or country architectural character with high-pitched roofs and exterior siding materials to be in harmony with neighboring buildings and the environment. And the second one is to ensure that the exterior finished materials are in harmony with the architecture of the building and that their number be limited to a minimum.
Excuse me. Excuse me. We need to go through this. You can ask your questions at the end. Thank you.
3.2, 20 Main, un PIA, un plan de remplacement. Les propriétaires du 20 Main désirent démolir la maison existante afin de construire une résidence unifamiliale isolée. La demande de démolition à venir est assujettie au comité de démolition. Une demande d'approbation en PIA a été reçue pour un programme de réutilisation du sol dégagé au 20 Main. Le comité consultatif d'urbanisme s'est réuni le 8 mai et la recommandation majoritaire du comité consultatif d'urbanisme est de refuser le PIA relativement aux critères non remplis, soit de favoriser une architecture à caractère rural ou de villégiature avec des toits à pente forte et des matériaux de revêtement de façon à être en harmonie avec les bâtiments et le secteur environnant, et d'assurer que les matériaux de revêtement extérieur cadrent bien avec l'architecture du bâtiment et que leur nombre soit réduit au minimum.
So this resolution is to refuse the SPAPE request. I will need a mover and a seconder. Reed Thompson, seconded by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There is one. It is carried in majority. En français. Ça va? La partie pour l'adoption.
Donc la présente résolution vise à refuser le PIA.
C'est bon. Et a été adopté à la majorité.
Oui.
C'est bon. Item 3.3, 664 Main SPAPE for a new detached single-family construction. Peter?
So this was a permit request that was received for new detached single-family construction at 664 Main. TPAC Committee's unanimous recommendation was to refuse the SPAPE, the unfulfilled criteria, to reflect the architecture of neighboring heritage buildings, avoid heavy lighting equipment and intense lighting by installing lighting equipment functional and moderate, avoid heavy lighting equipment. Ooh, I guess there's a second one.
The third one, yeah. Go ahead.
And intense lighting by heavy and the adequate lighting equipment to guarantee the safety of the premises. To favor a rural or country architectural character with high-pitched roofs and exterior siding materials to be in harmony with neighboring buildings and the environment. Ensure that the architectural elements respect the architectural character of the building, and ensure that the exterior cladding materials fit well with the architecture of the building and their number is kept to a minimum.
So this resolution is to refuse the SPAPE request. En français.
Alors 3.3, le 664 Main, PIA, nouvelle construction unifamiliale isolée. Une demande de permis a été reçue pour une nouvelle construction unifamiliale isolée au 664 rue Main. La recommandation unanime du comité consultatif qui s'est réuni le 8 août 2023 est de refuser le PIA suite aux critères non remplis, un rappel de l'architecture des bâtiments avoisinants ayant une valeur patrimoniale, éviter les équipements d'éclairage lourds et les éclairages intenses en installant des équipements d'éclairage fonctionnels et sobres, éviter les équipements d'éclairage lourds et les éclairages intenses en ayant un équipement peu nombreux mais fournissant un éclairage suffisant pour garantir la sécurité des lieux, favoriser une architecture à caractère rural ou de villégiature avec des toits à pente forte et des matériaux de revêtement de façon à être en harmonie avec les bâtiments et le secteur environnant, assurer que les éléments architecturaux respectent le caractère architectural du bâtiment et assurer que les matériaux de revêtement extérieur cadrent bien avec l'architecture du bâtiment et que leur nombre soit réduit au minimum.
So I will need a mover and a seconder. I keep looking to my left. I could start looking to my right. So Mark Gray, seconded by Benoit Blais. And as mentioned, this is to refuse the SPAPE request. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So perhaps to give some precisions, the criteria that we're reading here, the reason they sound so dry is because they come out of the bylaw where the objectives and the criteria exist. So these are copy-pasted essentially from the bylaw, and these are the ones that essentially the committee and council have found are not met in the presentation of the project. So these are the criteria that then the person making the request for the SPAPE and their designer will have to go through these criteria once again, take a look at them and see how better to reach them. It is not for us to redesign the building necessarily, but those were the sticking points. We have a certain amount of leeway and flexibility in which we can share in more layman's term, I guess, the elements that are sticking. So this is where Peter was suggesting that for those projects that were refused, he's making himself available to essentially translate what that means, what those criteria, what elements of those criteria were the sticking points, and hopefully give the designing team more material with which to work. So there are some projects that take multiple returns to TPAC and to council. To give you an example, I think the Presbytery Addition project was 2, maybe 3 times even. There are some projects that never do go through, the people give up, and then some where we're on our 4th and 5th, and it is not because we don't like you as a person or we don't believe that you bring good value to the community. It is really because the mission with which this committee has been mandated is to look at each project and make sure that they integrate into their setting. And as you know, Main Road, even though it's one set of objectives and criteria, it is a long street and there are very different characters along the way. So they do their best to assess, they bring us their recommendation, we review the recommendations and we have a conversation around the table again. This is never a simple process. We know that it is difficult for some people, and through the 10 that were presented to us this month, you will see that there are others who also unfortunately did not meet all of the criteria and the objectives. But at the end of the meeting, I just wanted to, as you're thinking. At the end of the meeting, excuse me, at the question period, you can stand up again and ask your questions, all right? At this point, this is really for us to go through the process and the resolutions. All right, moving on to item 3.7.
3.4?
3.4? I tried. 710? No. Item 3.4, this is 710 Main SPAPE Replacement Plan. Peter?
So the owners of 710 Main want to demolish the existing house in order to build a detached single-family dwelling. The demolition request will come to be subject to the demolition committee. An approbation request was received for a preliminary program for the utilization of the vacant land at 710 Main. TPAC had a unanimous recommendation to approve the SPAPE.
Alors 3.4, le 610 rue Main, le PIA, un plan de remplacement. Les propriétaires du lot du 710 rue Main désirent démolir la maison existante afin de construire une résidence unifamiliale isolée. La demande de démolition à venir est assujettie au comité de démolition. Une demande d'approbation en PIA a été reçue pour un programme de réutilisation du sol dégagé pour le 710 Main. Le comité consultatif d'urbanisme s'est réuni et la recommandation et a recommandé de façon unanime d'approuver le PIA.
Merci. So this resolution is to support TPAC's recommendation and to approve the SPAPE request. Perhaps quickly, this project is interesting in that the character of the street has really been kept. It is got a high-pitched roof. It has sort of the eaves that you would find in traditional homes along the way. It has very delicate details and also divided lights on the second part of, or on the higher part of the windows. And this is, the treatment has really been carried through on all four facades. It is a lovely example of a very good replacement project in our view, and it would be nice to continue to see projects of quality such as this one. So do I have a mover? I have Mark Gray, seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.5, 69 Crescent.
Donc, la résolution, c'est d'approuver.
Je m'excuse.
Donc, la présente résolution vise à approuver le PIA.
C'est bien ça. I forget that we do things in both languages. Item 3.5, 69 Crescent for a SPAPE addition. Peter?
So a permit request was received for an addition at 69 Crescent. This is a prime example of one that had to come back 2 or 3 times. So the town, so TPAC recommendation by majority was to approve the SPAPE. I'll pass that.
Alors, le 3.5, le 69 Crescent, c'est le PIA agrandissement. Alors, une demande de permis a été reçue pour un agrandissement au 69 rue Crescent. La recommandation majoritaire du comité consultatif est d'approuver le PIA.
Merci. So this resolution is in support of Town Planning Advisory Committee's recommendation. It is for the approval of the SPAPE request. I will need a mover. I'm looking to my right. Benoit Blaise, seconded by Mark Gray. Vous avez besoin de traduire ça ou ça va?
Non, mais c'est d'approuver le PIA.
C'est d'approuver le PIA. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Obviously, some files are a lot easier than others. As Peter was saying, we've seen this project. This is our 3rd time. It came to us as a minor derogation, where in that case, the existing garage is forward on the building, and because it is situated on an arced street, they wanted to make sure that their garage was considered to be compliant. And the reason that was refused the first time is because in granting that permission, we felt that that gave them then the right to build in that entire triangle anyway. It's a geometry thing. And then they came back as well with the presentation of their project, which is essentially to fill the space between the main house and that garage, which up until now is simply covered. So they came the first time. There was only one front door, and the door was tucked next to the garage. It looked more like a service door than a main entrance. So that, again, had to go back to the drawing table. And they've come back this time with a double door. So there's the door next to the garage, and there is now an official front door with a couple of steps signifying the main entrance. So again, this is an example of a project that has taken several steps to get to this point. Donc, je pense qu'on a passé le vote sur celui-ci.
Oui,
passe au prochain. C'est bon. Item 3.6, 69 to 73B Cameron, SPAPE for major renovation. Peter?
So a permit request was received for major renovation works at 6973 Cameron. TPAC was unanimous recommendation to refuse the SPAPE. The unfulfilled criteria: preserve the existing architecture of the current building, ensure that the architectural elements respect the architectural character of the building, ensure in the case of a building of heritage interest, a restoration approach rather than a renovation approach, in order to restore the building to its original character, ensure in the case of a building of heritage interest, if renovations have already altered the original character, the return to the original state.
3.6, 69-73B Cameron, PIA rénovation majeure. Alors, une demande de permis a été reçue pour des travaux de rénovation majeure au 69-73B Cameron. La recommandation unanime du comité consultatif d'urbanisme est de refuser le PIA pour les critères non remplis suivants, de préserver l'architecture existante du bâtiment actuel, d'assurer que les éléments architecturaux respectent le caractère architectural du bâtiment, assurer, dans le cas d'un bâtiment d'intérêt patrimonial, une approche de restauration plutôt qu'une approche de rénovation afin de redonner au bâtiment son caractère d'origine, assurer, dans le cas d'un bâtiment d'intérêt patrimonial, si des rénovations ont déjà altéré le caractère original, le retour à l'état original.
Merci. So this resolution is in support of Town Planning Advisory's recommendation, and it is to refuse the SPAPE request. Do I have? At the end of the meeting, please, in the question period. I'm sorry, you'll have to wait till the end of the meeting. Thank you. Do I have a mover for this? Peter Mate, seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? There is one. It is carried in majority. C'est bon. Item 3.7, 567 Main for SPAPE major renovation.
So a permit request was received for major renovation works at 567 Main. TPAC had a unanimous recommendation to approve the SPAPE.
Le point 3.7, le 567 rue Maine, le PIA rénovation majeure. Une demande de permis a été reçue pour des travaux de rénovation majeure au 567 rue Maine. La recommandation unanime du comité consultatif d'urbanisme est d'approuver la demande de PIA.
Merci. So this resolution is in full support, I believe, of the TPAC's recommendation. I will need a mover to my left, Reed Thompson to my right, Peter Mate. Are there any objections with this resolution? Please raise your hand. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.8, 371 Main, SPAPE accessory building.
So a permit request was received for an addition to an accessory building at 371 Main. TPAC's recommendation by majority was to approve the SPAPE.
3.8, 371 rue Maine, un PIA, un bâtiment accessoire. Une demande de permis a été reçue pour un agrandissement d'un bâtiment accessoire au 371 Maine. La recommandation majoritaire du comité consultatif d'urbanisme est d'approuver la demande de PIA.
Merci. So this resolution is in support of Town Planning Advisory Committee's recommendation and is to approve the SPAPE request. Do I have a mover for this? To my right, Peter Mate. To my left, Reed Thompson. Are there any objections with this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.9, 44 Osikowa, SPAPE accessory building.
A permit request was received for the construction of an accessory building at 44 Osikowa. TPAC's unanimous recommendation was to refuse the SPAPE. The Urban Planning Department has validated the information provided by TPAC following its meeting of August 8th. A certificate of authorization request was received for the installation of a... no, that's the next one, sorry. That was it.
En français.
Alors, le 3.9, le 44 Osikowa, PIA, bâtiment accessoire. Une demande de permis a été reçue pour la construction d'un bâtiment accessoire au 44 Osikowa. La recommandation unanime du comité consultatif d'urbanisme de refuser le PIA. Par contre, il y a une validation d'informations qui a été fournie par le service d'urbanisme sur les critères retenus à la suite de la rencontre du CCU du 8 août.
Merci. Do you have a question, Doug?
Well, no, I'm just mildly confused. It says TPAC's unanimous recommendation refuse, but we're going to approve.
So the next paragraph reads, whereas the Urban Planning Department has validated the information provided by TPAC following its meeting, then that's why there is a change in orientation. And so essentially the discussion that took place at TPAC was with regards to, does the color on the house match the color on the accessory building? And on photo as submitted for the meeting, they did not match. However, the name of the materials matched. So the inspector went on site, took a photo of the back of the house, and confirms that it matched. So when we were in our working meeting in caucus, we had this additional information, and so this is why we're going against TPAC's recommendation, and we're approving because that was essentially what they had based their refusal on.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do I have a mover for this? Peter Mate, seconded. Reed Thompson. So this is to approve the SPAPE request. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hands. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.10, 434 Main, SPAPE sign. This is the last file on the TPAC section.
So a certificate of authorization request was received for the installation of a sign on the building at 434 Main. TPAC's unanimous recommendation was to refuse the SPAPE. Yeah, so the criteria not met ensure that the sign respects the architectural characteristics, favor that the sign does not obstruct the elements of the architectural decor. En français.
Are you going to refuse or approve? Because if you refuse,
an interesting file in our working meeting. So in caucus, we came to about even. We were not a complete table, so we weren't sure which way it would fall. So in this case, I'm going to say let's look to approve the SPAPE request, so to go against TPAC's recommendation, and let's see where the vote comes.
Because if you approve, you don't have to read the criteria. There's no criteria retained. Il n'y a pas de critères. Si on approuve, on ne retient pas les critères. Les critères sont en cas de refus.
Okay. We should read the criteria? No. So we're going with the approval, and we won't read the criteria. All right. So this should be an interesting one. En français, vous l'avez fait?
Non. Alors, 3.10, le 434 rue Maine, le PIA enseigne. Alors, une demande de certificat d'autorisation a été reçue pour l'installation d'une enseigne sur le bâtiment au 434 rue Maine. La recommandation unanime du comité consultatif d'urbanisme de refuser le PIA. Mais vous allez...
Ouais. Donc, so this resolution is to approve the SPAPE request for this sign. This is the sign of the Nova building. Presently, it is hanging on the front porch between two columns, and it was, from what I understand from the conversation around the Town Planning Advisory Committee table, is that there is a wish for commercial signs to be visible from the streets as you're walking on sidewalks and circulating on the street, and it is felt that when it is on the building, it is obstructing architectural elements of the building. So the criteria that would have been used for refusal are essentially in that sense. However, it is... signs are an ongoing issue in the downtown core. I think that we will be spending some quality time reviewing our signage bylaw and looking to have a greater sort of consensus on the look and feel of those signs. And at this time, I find it difficult to necessarily be hard and demanding with regards to sign when there's also a lot of signs that have been put up without any authorizations or permits as well. So this is a very hot topic for us around the table, and it kind of splits council. So let's see where this resolution lands. I'm proposing that we approve this signage request.
Proposer.
I'm looking for a proposer and a seconder.
To approve. I'll propose.
So you're proposing and a seconder.
I just want to be clear, what are we
The approval of the sign as installed on the Nova building.
So this is like a new resolution because this is...
No, it's this one. It's just we're approving rather than refusing the request.
Let's make a request.
Can we do that?
It's coming to a vote, Doug.
I'm just trying to understand the vote. So we're not voting against this. We're voting for something.
I've proposed
approval.
Thank you.
I've proposed approval.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
So you're seconding the approval of the
Yes.
sign? Thank you.
Yes.
So Doug Smith, thank you. Are there any objections to this approval? There is one, there is two. All right, so it is adopted in majority.
To approve.
To approve the sign. Thank you.
So you don't want the actual sign?
Merci. This was a bit of an awkward one.
No.
What is it?
You just vote against the actual sign?
No.
Yes.
No, we voted for the sign.
We voted for the sign as it is presently installed.
We're not voting on this.
As it is now?
Yes.
Okay, I remove my hand.
Okay, so there's one against. But the vote is recorded, so
Yeah,
it's done.
recorded.
That's what I'm saying.
Whatever. It will not make a difference.
It doesn't make a
But I'm
difference.
for the actual sign.
It's an awkward one, so thank you for bearing through with us. Moving on to item 311, awarding of contract to Nature Action Québec, ecological donation support mandate. Whereas the town was approached by a citizen interested in the ecological gift program consisting in ceding lots to the town for conservation. The offer of services of a support mandate for the acquisition of an ecological gift received by Nature Action Québec. This resolution is to award the contract for a support mandate for the acquisition of the ecological gift to Nature Action Québec for an amount of $24,785 with the applicable taxes. En français.
Donc, le point 3.11, octroi de contrat Nature Action Québec. Alors, le mandat d'accompagnement pour un don écologique. La Ville a été approchée par un citoyen intéressé au programme de dons écologiques par le gouvernement, consistant à céder un ou plusieurs lots à la Ville à des fins de conservation. L'offre de service pour un mandat d'accompagnement dans l'acquisition d'un don écologique reçu par Nature Action Québec. La présente résolution vise donc à octroyer le contrat pour le mandat d'accompagnement pour l'acquisition d'un don écologique à Nature Action Québec pour un montant de 24 785 $ avec les taxes applicables.
Merci beaucoup. Do I have a mover? To my right, Benoit Blais, seconded by Peter Mate. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.12, renewal of the Town Planning Advisory Committee, so TPAC. Whereas the Town Planning Advisory Committee has been established, the members and officers of the Town Planning Advisory Committee must be appointed by resolution of the Town Council. And considering that the mandate of the Councillor Peter Mate as President and Councillor member comes to an end on November 15th of 2023. This resolution is to renew the mandate of Councillor Peter Mate as President and Councillor member for a term of 2 years, beginning on November 15th of 2023.
3.12, renouvellement membre du comité consultatif d'urbanisme. Alors, un comité consultatif d'urbanisme a été constitué. Les membres et officiers du comité consultatif d'urbanisme doivent être nommés par résolution du conseil municipal. Le mandat du conseiller Peter Mate à titre de président et de membre conseiller vient à terme le 15 novembre 2023. Alors, la présente résolution vise à renouveler le mandat du conseiller Peter Mate à titre de président et de membre conseiller pour un terme de 2 ans qui débute le 15 novembre 2023.
Merci beaucoup. Do I have a mover? Reed Thompson, seconded by Darren Legault. Sorry, Mark. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. It's okay. It is carried by majority. I'd like to thank Peter for your time and your management of these files. They are not always easy, obviously, as we saw this evening, but I think you bring a very interesting balance to the group, and there is a decent representation of a variety of types of businesses, but also of investor types and people with different sensibilities around the table, and you bring a good balance to that, so thank you very much. Item 3.13. Tabling of the minutes for Town Planning Advisory Committee of TPAC of July of 2023. So as we have been doing since May, this month we are deposing, so members of council take note of the tabling of the minutes of Town Planning Advisory Committee for the month of July. These, I believe, are available on our town's website as well. En français.
3.13, dépôt du procès-verbal du comité consultatif d'urbanisme, juillet 2023. Alors, les membres du conseil prennent acte du dépôt du procès-verbal du comité consultatif d'urbanisme et le procès-verbal est déposé sur le site Internet de la Ville.
Merci. So item 3.14 is very similar, where we are tabling the minutes for Town Planning Advisory Committee, so TPAC, their special meeting of August of 2023. So where members of council take note of the tabling of those minutes.
3.14, dépôt du procès-verbal du comité consultatif d'urbanisme, séance extraordinaire du mois d'août 2023. Alors, les membres du conseil prennent acte du dépôt du procès-verbal du comité consultatif d'urbanisme.
Item 3.15, tabling of the monthly reports for permits issued in July of 2023, where members of council take note of the tabling of the monthly report for permits issued by the Urban Planning Department.
3.15, dépôt du rapport mensuel des permis émis en juillet 2023. Les membres du conseil prennent acte du dépôt du rapport mensuel des permis émis du service de l'urbanisme.
Merci. So anytime we do a tabling, there are no votes. It's essentially just making those records public. It means that anyone who wishes to have access, if we haven't put it up on the town's website, then you simply have to contact our town hall or Mrs. McKercher through town hall. She is our town clerk, and fill out a form or request for information. And as long as that report has been tabled and made public, then it is available to the public. Section 4, Administration and Finance, item 4.1, approval of disbursements for August of 2023. This resolution is to approve the following disbursements as of August 31st of 2023, with a subtotal of $1,663,192.46 for a total of accounts paid, including 2 payrolls, of $1,972,451.81.
Alors, la section 4, Administration et Finances, 4.1, approbation des paiements pour le mois d'août 2023. Alors, la présente résolution vise à approuver le paiement des comptes au 31 août 2023 pour un sous-total des paiements de 1 663 192,46 sous et un total des comptes incluant 2 paies au montant de 1 972 451,81 sous.
Merci. Do I have a mover? Benoit Blais, seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously.
Point of clarification, Mrs. Mayor.
Yes,
it's
please go ahead.
Relatively high because the payment to alley excavation for the work that was done on Main Road is in there at $1,082,861.
That's great.
That's why it's larger than usual.
And the cut also, I think, for the region was in there?
Yeah,
Merci.
that's the one that stuck out for me. So it's $1 million right there.
No, thank you. Helpful. Item 4.2, refinancing loan bylaws 504, 494, 513, 518, 519, 524, 553, 554, 574, 581, 596, 603, 612, 670-2016, 695-2017, and 687-2017 adjudication. So whereas the Town of Hudson would like to issue bonds, specifically a bond with a due date as per bylaw numbers 504, 494, 513, 518, 519, 524, 553, 554, 574, 581, 596, 603, 612, 670-2016, 695-2017, and 687-2017. Whereas pursuant to this public tender procedure for the issuance of the aforementioned bonds, the Town of Hudson received 4 complying bids.
Sorry, it's 3.
3? I see there are 3.
Yeah, sorry, there's the clerical error.
So 3 complying bids. One was from Valeur Immobilière Desjardins, one from Financière Banque Nationale, and one from Valeur Mobilière Banque Laurentienne. Whereas the calculation result of the actual cost, the offer from Valeur Mobilière Desjardins, Inc., was deemed to be the most beneficial. This resolution is that the issuance of bonds in the amount of $5,397,000 from the town of Hudson be awarded to Valeur Mobilière Desjardins, Inc. And that's it, en français.
Alors, point 4.2, le refinancement des règlements d'emprunt 504, 494, 513, 518, 519, 524, 553, 554, 574, 581, 596, 603, 612, 670-2016, 695-2017 et 687-2017, l'adjudication. Alors, conformément au règlement d'emprunt numéro 504, 494, 513, 518, 519, 524, 553, 554, 574, 581, 596, 603, 612, 670-2016, 695-2017 et 687-2017, la Ville de Hudson souhaite émettre une série d'obligations, soit une obligation par échéance. À la suite de l'appel d'offres public pour la vente de l'émission désignée ci-dessous, le ministre des Finances a reçu 3 soumissions conformes, soit celle de Valeur Mobilière Desjardins, Inc., Financière Banque Nationale Incorporée et Valeur Mobilière Banque Laurentienne Incorporée. En considérant que le résultat du calcul des coûts réels indique que la soumission présentée par la firme Valeur Mobilière Desjardins Incorporée est la plus avantageuse, la présente résolution vise à ce que l'émission d'obligations au montant de 500 397 000 de la Ville d'Hudson soit adjugée à la firme Valeur Mobilière Desjardins Incorporée.
Merci. Donc, the real cost, or le coût réel, the percentage that is given for Valeur Mobilière Desjardins, for those who are interested, is 5.21049%. For people who are numbers-minded, this might be useful. So it just shows that interest rates indeed are going up, and hopefully we'll have news in the next couple of weeks that there will be a plateau of these increases. But anyway, do I have a mover? Benoit Blais, seconded by Peter Mate. Are there any objections with this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So item 4.3 is for refinancing of loan bylaws. So again, this is a long list. Loan bylaws 504, 494, 513, 518, 519, 524, 553, 554, 574, 581, 596, 603, 612, 670-2016, 695-2017, and 687-2017. This is the agreement. So before was the adjudication, so it's who we were writing the bonds to. Now it is to seal the agreements. So the town of Hudson would like to issue banknotes on a series of bonds, specifically in a term bond for September 15th to 2023 in the amount of $5,397,000. There are details in all of these resolutions, and once these minutes are adopted at the next council meeting, you will see them show up on the town's website, so you can go through all of the details. There's quite a bit of information. And also, whereas, in accordance with the first paragraph of Section 2 of the Municipal Loans and Debts Act, for the purposes of this bond issue, the town of Hudson wishes to issue for a shorter term than that originally set out in the aforementioned bylaws. This resolution is that the loan bylaws be financed by bonds for the term prescribed. Est-ce que je suis bien encore dans le même endroit? Oui. Instead of the terms prescribed for the said amortization of the borrowing bylaws 504, 494, 513, 518, 519, 524, 553, 554, 574, 581, 596, 603, 612, 670-2016, 695-2017, and 687-2017 be issued for a shorter term than the term provided for in the loan bylaw, that is, a term of 5 years. Voilà.
4.3, refinancement des règlements d'emprunt 504, 494, 513, 518, 519, 524, 553, 554, 574, 581, 596, 603, 619, 670-2016, 695-2017 et 687-2017, concordance. La Ville de Hudson souhaite émettre une série d'obligations, soit une obligation par échéance, pour un montant total de 5 397 000 qui sera réalisé le 15 septembre 2023. Considérant que conformément au premier alinéa de l'article 2 de la Loi sur les dettes et emprunts municipaux, pour les fins de cette émission d'obligations, la Ville de Hudson souhaite émettre pour un terme plus court que celui originellement fixé à ces règlements. La présente résolution vise à ce que les règlements d'emprunt soient financés par obligation et que le terme prévu dans les règlements d'emprunt numéro 504, 494, 513, 518, 519, 524, 553, 554, 574, 581, 596, 603, 612, 670-2016, 695-2017 et 687-2017 soit plus court que celui originellement fixé, c'est-à-dire pour un terme de 5 ans.
So perhaps that may help, that long list of, except for the last 3 with those years added to it, these are loan bylaws that were issued in 2013. So when you take each one of them has a different set of terms. So if it's road work or if it's type of work that can only be financed over 10 or 15 years, that is the length of that loan bylaw. Some are longer, some are for 30 years. So when you do the math for all of those that are below the 30 years, then it means that the loan will come due within the 5 years, and which is why we're making those changes. It is very much administrative, la poutine administrative, but we have to do it publicly, so sorry for putting you through this. Do I have a proposer? Benoit Blais, seconded by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. So again, if you're interested in numbers, you could find all of these in the meeting minutes once they will have been adopted at the next council meeting. A few days after, they will be posted online, and you can find the table with all of those numbers attached in annex. Item 4.4, so as mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we are simply tabling the Treasurer's statement of delinquent accounts for non-payment of taxes for 2023, where Council acknowledges the tabling of the Treasurer's statement, indicating the immovables on which the taxes imposed have not been paid in whole or in part. So this includes 2022 and 2023, I believe. Yep. So remember, it's only the list of houses that are on the item on 2022 that come up for sale if taxes have not been paid. En français.
4.4, dépôt, état du trésorier des comptes en souffrance pour défaut de paiement de taxes 2023. Alors, le Conseil a pris acte du dépôt de l'état du trésorier indiquant les immeubles sur lesquels les taxes imposées n'ont pas été payées en tout ou en partie.
Item 4.5, support request to intervene by the Fédération québécoise des municipalités, transmission of the financial statements. Whereas Quebec municipalities must submit their financial and auditors' reports to the Ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation no later than May 15th of each year. Whereas a delay in transmitting financial statements is poorly perceived by the government. Whereas in this context, the ministry, the MAMASH, should not penalize municipalities that have been left behind because they are not responsible for the delay. Whereas conversely, the majority of municipalities that were able to produce and transmit their financial statements on time experienced a marked increase in auditors' fees. This resolution is that the FQM and UMQ, so these are 2 entities that represent municipalities, discuss this unprecedented crisis with the MAMASH, so this is essentially a resolution in support of this wave of requests to the ministry, and that the FQM and UMQ urgently address this problem. Allez-y.
Alors, le 4.5, appui, demande d'intervention de la Fédération québécoise des municipalités, transmission des états financiers. Alors, les municipalités du Québec doivent transmettre au ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation au plus tard le 15 mai de chaque année le rapport financier et le rapport du vérificateur. Un retard à transmettre les états financiers est mal perçu par le gouvernement. Alors, dans ce contexte, le ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation ne devrait pas pénaliser les municipalités parce qu'elles ne sont pas responsables du retard. Et à l'inverse, la majorité des municipalités ayant pu produire et transmettre leurs états financiers dans les délais ont subi une hausse marquée des tarifs des vérificateurs. Alors, la présente résolution est une résolution d'appui pour demander à ce que la FQM et l'UMQ, deux entités qui représentent les municipalités, débattent de cette crise sans précédent avec le ministère et que la FQM et l'UMQ, soit la Fédération québécoise des municipalités et l'Union municipale des Québécoises, l'Union des municipalités du Québec, se penchent urgemment sur cette problématique.
So you'll find again in the much longer resolution than the excerpts that we have read out to you tonight, there's a lot of details where, for example, 216 municipalities that were deemed non-compliant, over 70 have fewer than 1,000 inhabitants, reflecting this reality. So this is a situation that more and more municipalities are running into, and this was a request for our support, but essentially all municipalities across the province are being asked to adopt this resolution, asking the ministry to change their practices. So do I have a mover? Benoit Blais, seconded by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 5, this is Suzanne's section, Town Clerk. Item 5.1, amending the resolution R 2023-08-195, hiring contract for Finance Department. So this is a resolution that was adopted in August. You know, when you have the -08 in the middle, that's the 8th month. Whereas Resolution R 2023-08-195, by which the Council retained the services of a resource person as a temporary consultant assigned to the Finance Department, it is necessary to modify the hourly rate of $40 for a maximum amount of $15,900 before deduction. This resolution is so that the second paragraph of the decision reads as follows: that the duration of the mandate is for a maximum of 22 weeks or upon the return of the employee on absence, whichever comes first, at an hourly rate of $75 for a maximum amount of $15,900 before deductions. So to explain, the person we had in mind in August is not able to come. We have found an even better person to take on this position through Marie-Jacinthe's network, and this person costs more an hour, so we are adjusting for a shorter duration. This is in replacement of someone who is on indefinite sick leave within the Treasury Department, and also we are adjusting that's it, the hourly rate. So it's really for full transparency, as we are supposed to do. Alors, en français?
On est au groupe 5, le greffe. 5.1, modification à la résolution R 2023-08-195, embauche contractuelle, département des finances. Alors, la résolution R 2023-08-195, par laquelle le Conseil retient les services d'une personne ressource à titre de consultant temporaire attitré au service des finances. Alors, il y a lieu de modifier le taux horaire de $40. La résolution se lisait pour un montant total de $40 pour un montant maximal de 15 900 $ avant déduction. Alors, la présente résolution vise à modifier la résolution afin que le deuxième paragraphe de la décision se lise désormais comme suit. La durée du mandat soit d'un maximum de 22 semaines ou au retour de l'employé qui est absent, selon la première échéance, à un taux horaire de 75 $ pour un montant maximal de 15 900 $ avant déduction.
See, do I have a proposer? Peter Mate, seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 6, Human Resources, item 6.1, hiring of building monitors. Je pense que c'est au pluriel. No. Whereas for the operation of the Culture and Recreation Department, it is necessary to hire 2 candidates at function 702, hall monitor. The selection process, assessment, and interview of applicants was made in collaboration with the Human Resources Services. This resolution is to hire the following candidates as building monitors, function 702 in the Community Planning Department. Je pense que ce n'est pas le bon département. Est-ce qu'on a changé de nom de département, peut-être?
En français, ça va, service culture et loisirs.
Ah oui. Ah, d'accord. Donc, in the Department of Culture and Recreation, these 2 people, so Jessica Stenimir and Luca Brunetti, and that the hiring be retroactive to July 10th of 2023. From memory, I believe both were on staff for the summer day camp program. I believe they were, no, tu ne penses pas? One was a lifeguard and one was an animator with the day camp, and I know at least Jessica is a resident of Hudson forever. I do not know Luca. Do you know Luca? You taught your son. Well, so anyway, welcome both. Thank you for joining the group, and we look forward to spending time with you. En français.
Alors, section 6, ressources humaines, 6.1, embauche, moniteur de salle. Alors, considérant que pour le bon fonctionnement du service de la culture et loisirs, il est nécessaire d'embaucher 2 candidats à la fonction 702, moniteur de salle. Le processus de sélection, d'évaluation et d'entrevue des candidats s'est fait. Et donc, la présente résolution vise à embaucher les candidats suivants au titre de moniteur de salle, fonction 702, au service de la culture et loisirs, Jessica Stanimir et Luca Brunetti. L'embauche soit effective rétroactivement au 10 juillet 2023.
Merci. Do I have a mover? Reed Thompson, seconded by Peter Meat. Are there any objections with this resolution? Please raise your... Huh? Reed et Peter, pardon.
Okay.
The resolution is carried unanimously. Item 6.2, hiring of administrative assistant, Human Resources Department. Considering that the function 111 HR administrative assistant for the Human Resources Department has been vacant since May 10th of 2023, for the proper functioning of the service, it is necessary that this position be replaced. A posting took place, and the selection process, assessment, and interview of applications made in collaboration with the Human Resources Services and the Director General. This resolution is to hire Ms. Celia Jeff as an HR administrative assistant, function 111, and that the hiring of Ms. Jeff be effective as of September 6th of 2023.
6.2, embauche adjointe administrative ressources humaines. Alors, la fonction 111, adjointe administrative pour le service des ressources humaines, est dépourvue de son titulaire depuis le 10 mai 2023. Pour le bon fonctionnement du service, il est nécessaire que ce poste soit remplacé. Un affichage a eu lieu et le processus de sélection, d'évaluation et d'entrevue des candidatures a été fait en collaboration avec le service des ressources humaines et le directeur général. Alors, la présente résolution vise à embaucher Mme Celia Jeff au titre d'adjointe administrative aux ressources humaines, fonction 111, et l'embauche de Mme Jeff soit effective dès le 6 septembre 2023.
Merci beaucoup. Do I have a proposer? Mark Gray, seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. 6.3, awarding of contract to Loranger Marcoux Lawyers SENCRL, collective agreement negotiation mandate. Collective agreement between the Town of Hudson Employees Union and the town expired on October 27th of 2022, whereas the town wishes to mandate a spokesperson and legal advisor within the framework of the negotiations surrounding the renewal of the collective agreement. This resolution is to mandate the firm Loranger Marcoux Avocats, SENCRL, to represent the employer's interest in the negotiations of the collective agreement for employees of the Town of Hudson at a cost of $21,000 before taxes. And en français.
6.3, octroi de contrat à Loranger Marcoux Avocat, SENCRL, mandat négociation de la convention collective. La convention collective liant le syndicat des employés de la Ville de Hudson et la Ville est venue à échéance le 27 octobre 2022. La Ville désire mandater un porte-parole et conseiller juridique dans le cadre des négociations entourant le renouvellement de la convention collective. Donc, la présente résolution vise à mandater la firme Loranger Marcoux Avocat, SENCRL, afin de représenter les intérêts de l'employeur dans le cadre de la négociation de la convention collective des employés de la Ville d'Hudson à un coût de 21 000 avant taxes.
Merci beaucoup. Do we have a proposer? Mark Gray, seconded. To my left, Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 7, Culture and Recreation, Item 7.1, Porch Fest 2023. This is for parking bans. So Porch Fest will be held on Saturday, September 9th, 2023 from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And whereas the safety of pedestrians is paramount during this event, this resolution is to approve the installation of no parking signs on Friday, September 8th, along one side of Cedar Street from Main Street to Lakeview Street, and along one side of McNaughton Street from Main Street to Lakeview. And the commercial parking is not included in this restriction. En français.
La section Culture et loisirs, 7.1, Balkan Fest 2023, interdiction de stationner. Balkan Fest aura lieu le samedi 9 septembre 2023 de 9h à 19h. La sécurité des piétons est primordiale durant cet événement. Donc, la présente résolution vise à approuver l'installation de panneaux d'interdiction de stationner le vendredi 8 septembre, le long de la rue Cedar, de la rue Main à la rue Lakeview, un côté, le long de la rue McNaughton, de la rue Main à la rue Lakeview, un côté, stationnement des commerces non inclus.
Merci. So this is for Porch Fest 6th edition, and in discussion over this resolution at our working meeting, the comment from Reed was that it would be interesting to extend this no parking as last year, I believe. There were some events that were held further up along the secondary streets, and circulation and parking had become dangerous, and he suggested that we extend it. We also asked that they look at the present map of where the locations of all of these different music bands will be playing, and to make sure that within a certain radius there would be safe circulation. So here's the result of that work, but thank you. And thank you, Reed, for your attentive eye. So, do I have a mover? Reed Thompson, seconded by Darren Legault. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 7.2, 2023, Terry Fox Run, the use of town hall parking. So whereas the Terry Fox Run will be held on Sunday, September 17th of 2023 from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., whereas the volunteer race organizers are requesting access to the town hall parking lot for the event, this resolution is to authorize the use of the town hall parking lot by organizers and participants of the Terry Fox Run on Sunday, September 17th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Alors, point 7.2, course Terry Fox 2023, utilisation du stationnement de l'Hôtel de Ville. La course Terry Fox aura lieu le dimanche 17 septembre 2023 de 8h à 13h. Les organisateurs bénévoles de la course demandent d'avoir accès au stationnement de l'Hôtel de Ville pour la tenue de l'événement. La présente résolution vise à autoriser l'utilisation du stationnement de l'Hôtel de Ville par les organisateurs et les participants de la course Terry Fox, qui aura lieu le dimanche 17 septembre de 8h à 13h.
Do I have a mover? Reed Thompson moved, seconded by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. I think Mark's collecting the stars. Is that what's going on? Item 7.3, temporary recognition request of Group TM, Hi, Chris. So Chris is here, but at the question period, I'll ask you to present who you are, if you don't mind. So whereas the Encore Musical Theatre Group is comprised of musical theatre enthusiasts who wish to fill the void left by the Hudson Music Club by reviving quality musical theatre in Hudson, whereas the group has requested temporary recognition as a community organization, this resolution is to approve the temporary recognition of Encore Musical Theatre Group for a period of 1 year ending August 7th of 2024. En français.
7.3, demande de reconnaissance temporaire du groupe TM. Le groupe de théâtre musical Encore est composé de passionnés de théâtre musical qui souhaitent combler le vide laissé par le Hudson Music Club en faisant revivre un théâtre musical de qualité à Hudson. Le groupe a demandé une reconnaissance temporaire en tant qu'organisation communautaire. La présente résolution vise à approuver la reconnaissance temporaire du groupe de théâtre musical Encore pour une période d'1 an se terminant le 7 août 2024.
Merci. Proposer? Darren Legault, seconded. Reed Thompson, I'm looking at you for culture elements, right? Yes. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. If there are none, it is carried unanimously. I look forward to Chris's presentation just in a few minutes. Ah, excellent. Good. So both of you, at the question period, I'll give you first. Go. Section 8, Public Works, item 8.1, awarding of contract AO-2023-05-TP, replacement of the automation, thank you, of wastewater treatment plants and drinking water, whereas it is necessary to replace the automation of wastewater treatment plants and drinking water. The public call for tenders was issued on June 8th of 2023 and published on the SEAO, which is the public tender website. The bids received were opened publicly on August 23rd of 2023. There were, did we say it? There were 6 bidders, and the compliance analysis was carried out, and this resolution is to award to Le Groupe LML Limité, the lowest conforming bidder, the contract for replacement of the automation of wastewater treatment plants and drinking water for an amount of $884,150 before taxes. En français.
8.1, alors la section 8, travaux, 8.1, octroi de contrat AO-2023-05-TP, remplacement de l'automatisation des stations d'épuration et d'eau potable. Le remplacement de l'automatisation des stations d'épuration et d'eau potable est nécessaire. Un appel d'offres public a été lancé le 8 juin 2023 et publié sur SEAO, qui est un site public pour les soumissions. Les soumissions reçues ont été ouvertes publiquement le 23 août 2023. 6 soumissionnaires ont déposé un appel d'offres, un document. Et suite à l'analyse de conformité des soumissions, le groupe, alors la présente résolution vise à octroyer au groupe LML Limité, plus bas soumissionnaire conforme, le contrat de remplacement de l'automatisation des stations d'épuration et d'eau potable pour un montant de 884 150 $ avant taxe.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Peter Mate, seconded by Mark Gray, another star. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So this is, I think, exciting for a Director of Public Works. It means that there will be a certain amount of automatic response to both of our treatment plants, which for the last probably decade, he's been tied to those 2 systems since their inception, probably 2009, 2010, and it means that he would manually have to go and reset certain elements and make some adjustments. So this is very good news. This means that we can give him a bit of rest, but also it's just much better for levels to be rapidly adjusted and for systems to also be automated so that there's greater reporting, I guess, as well. So not everything is manually recorded and everything. So this is good for us. J'ai fait l'adoption? On a fait le vote? Oui? Bon. Moving on to Section 9 on public safety, Item 9.1, awarding of contract AO-2023-17-SSI services related to fire prevention. Whereas it is mandatory to have a resource with preventionist training to inspect establishments with a medium, high, and very high risk. Since October of 2021, the fire department have been looking for a TPI. TPI, c'est quoi? A préventionniste, preventionist, I don't know. It's a term, but anyway, TPI certified. Whereas a call for tenders was issued on August of 15th. The tenders were opened publicly on August 24th of 2023. There were 3 bidders. The compliance analysis was carried out. This resolution is to award to Group GPI, the lowest conforming bidder, the contract for services linked to the prevention of fires for an amount of $44,094 before taxes.
Section 9, sécurité publique, 9.1, octroi de contrat AO 2023-17-SSI. Alors, il est obligatoire d'avoir une ressource possédant la formation de préventionniste pour faire l'inspection des établissements ayant un risque moyen, élevé et très élevé. Depuis octobre 2021, le service des incendies est à la recherche d'un préventionniste certifié TPI. Un appel d'offres sur invitation a été lancé le 15 août 2023. Les soumissions reçues ont été ouvertes publiquement le 24 août 2023. Nous avons reçu 3 soumissions. Une analyse de conformité des soumissions a été faite. Alors, la présente résolution vise à octroyer à groupe GPL, plus bas soumissionnaire conforme, le contrat de service lié à la prévention des incendies pour un montant de 44 094 avant taxe.
This is good news. It means that there is a compliance requirement also in our schéma de couverture de risque. So this is the regional 5-year plan where we have to meet certain standards and we have to show that we meet all of the criteria. And one of the criteria is that we do the inspection of our buildings, as we said, of high, medium, and low to medium risk. And it was hard for us to meet that compliance because we did not have someone on staff. It also means that whenever there are changes to some of our commercial buildings or other buildings of high risk, that we do not have the staff to go and validate whether the means of egress are compliant or not. So this is essential. Are you moving or proposing? Proposing by Darren Legault, seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. I believe there is 2 resolutions left. So we are now in section 10 for bylaws, item 10.1, bylaw 526.16, amending zoning bylaw 526 to allow fireplaces in the front yard for commercial establishments. This is a notice of motion and tabling of the draft. I will need a councillor to give notice of motion. I think Benoit Blais has been asking for this, that's why I'm looking at him specifically. Councillor Benoit Blais gives notice of motion that he would move or cause to be moved at a subsequent session of the Council the adoption of bylaw 526.16. The purpose of this bylaw is to modify front yard fireplace standards for commercial establishments. So up until now, essentially, exterior fireplaces were not permitted in the front yard or front setback of commercial buildings. So now we are making that amendment so that where you see those installations in the core for the Festival of Lights, for example, those up until now were permitted through a sort of pilot project. So we are now making these a permanent adjustment. So then, en français.
Section 10, règlement 10.1, avis de motion et dépôt du projet, règlement 526-16, visant à modifier le règlement 526 sur le zonage afin d'autoriser les foyers en cours avant pour les établissements commerciaux. Le conseiller Benoît Blais donne avis de motion de l'intention de soumettre pour adoption à une séquence ultérieure du Conseil le règlement 526-16. L'objet de ce règlement est de modifier les normes associées aux foyers en cours avant pour les établissements commerciaux.
So as this is simply a notice of motion and tabling, there is no voting. It is at the next item, so 10.2, bylaw 526.16, amending the same zoning bylaw 526 to allow the fireplaces in the front yard for commercial establishments. This is the adoption of the first draft. So this means that this is the proposed changes, and there is a month's period, or as long as we'd like, until the adoption of the final version, but it gives people a chance to react and to ask for improvements or adjustments. This is essentially publicizing the changes that we are proposing, and we invite you to to read these and to look at them, and if you have any improvements you'd like us to bring, please let us know. So whereas notice of motion of this bylaw was given at the regular sitting of the Municipal Council held today, September 5th of 2023, this resolution is that the first draft of bylaw 526.16, amending zoning bylaw 526 to allow fireplaces in the front yard for commercial establishments be adopted. En français.
10.2, adoption du premier projet, règlement 526-16, visant à modifier le règlement 526 sur le zonage afin d'autoriser les foyers en cours avant pour les établissements commerciaux. Alors, il y a un avis de motion du présent règlement a été donné à la séance ordinaire du Conseil municipal de ce jour, soit le 5 septembre 2023. La présente résolution vise à approuver le premier projet du règlement 526-16, vise à modifier le règlement 526 sur le zonage afin d'autoriser les foyers en cours avant pour les établissements commerciaux soit adoptés. Et il va y avoir une consultation, ça c'est un processus, processus régulier, si vous avez le premier projet, et il va y avoir une consultation avant l'adoption du second projet.
As explained by Mrs. McKercher, as is standard in all modifications to the zoning bylaw, there is a period between this first draft and the final adoption for public consultation. So there will be a notice, publication, inviting the public to come and hear the proposed modifications and to provide their comments as well. So I need a mover for this. Benoît Blais, seconded by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 11, or section 11, new business. Is there any new business, anyone? Do you want to bring anything? No? Good. So second period question, but however, I'm going to ask, une minute s'il vous plaît, Monsieur Marleau, je vais demander à Chris Gobel et sa coprésidente to present. I manage the meeting, so I can. Thank you. Well, this can go under new business, all right? So, thank you.
Thanks very much, Chloe, and thanks to all council for approving the resolution tonight. As a temporary community organization, we appreciate it, and we appreciate the support of town. Karen Pierce is the driving force behind this new musical theater group, community group, and so why don't you say a few words?
What should I say?
I don't know. Tell them what it's all about. Oh, that we have a show coming up.
We have a show coming up, yes.
And
so explain who you are, where you came from, where this started from.
So I am a former member of the Hudson Music Club, and I've been out of touch for several years there, but a couple of people from the town of Hudson asked me if I would start another theater company to replace the Hudson Music Club to perform specifically musical theater. We're all big singing and dancing fans, and people were feeling that that was a bit of a lack. So we approached people, we gathered just people from here and from Hudson and the surrounding areas who were interested. We put together a committee, and, you know, much like this, we meet on a regular basis, and we have a group of 10 people who are sort of running the thing, and we've picked a show, and we're developing our production staff. And now it's just the long haul to the final product, which will happen in March of 2024. We're performing at the Village Theatre, and our show is called Curtains. It's a very fun production. It's a musical murder mystery, which I think hits pretty much all of the boxes. From what I know about the Village Theatre.
And you're recruiting right now, I hear?
Yes.
Yes.
We are recruiting all kinds of things. Specifically, we will have auditions in the very, very near future. And so that's our big, our next hurdle, our next step. But we always need tons of people to help out, backstage people, builders, painters, props people, costume people, general manpower. So we're really just trying to build our support base, our volunteer base, just get the word out there that we're here, and see how many people we can get to come and support us and help us get this thing going, because it takes a lot of people to put on
I love it.
a musical show.
It takes a village to put on a play.
Oh, it does.
And we have a website, and we're on Facebook. It's Théâtre Musical Encore Musical Theatre. The website is?
It's www.encoremusicaltheatre.ca.
So we'll be announcing auditions soon. We encourage everybody to come out. Yourself too, Chloe, if you're interested.
I don't sing very well.
And,
we can probably work around it.
But if people are interested in helping with the production, painters, builders, backstage people, it really does take a village to put on a show like this. We're very excited about bringing this back to Hudson. It was very successful in the past. The theater is supporting us. It's a co-production that we're doing with the Hudson Village Theater. So we're looking forward to getting a good partnership going with them as well. Yeah. So. Thanks very much. And,
Thank you. I wish you strong success, and I look forward to seeing your production.
Yeah, we'll see you at the show. The show was written by the same team that did Cabaret and Chicago.
Yeah, Candor and Ebb.
So
it's very funny.
Excellent. Thank you for coming this evening.
Thank
All right.
Thanks a lot.
So ça clôture la section 11. Sorry for that change. Second question period, Monsieur Marleau. Allez-y.
Bonjour, mon nom c'est Normand Marleau. Je suis résident à Hudson, dans le centre-ville. Ce que je veux, je vais vous le lire. Je vais juste vous lire un détail. Il y a des plaintes sur le bruit de la musique excessive de soirée à partir de jeudi au dimanche. Puis ça peut être de jour la fin de semaine. Ce que nous voulons, ceux qui se plaignent, puis vous avez reçu beaucoup de plaintes, un respect mutuel entre citoyens et un civisme entre voisins. Vous êtes au courant des problèmes de bruit excessif dus à la musique dans la ville d'Hudson. Depuis l'année passée, en 2022, vous avez déjà eu des plaintes. Vous avez été approché à plusieurs reprises depuis le 26 mai. Je vous ai rencontré et je vous ai avisé que je ne voulais pas revivre un été d'enfer comme l'année passée. Et par plusieurs plaignants, vous avez été rencontrés. Je suis même venu ici à l'Assemblée le 3 juillet pour rapporter le même problème. Je ne devrais même pas être ici aujourd'hui, le problème devrait être résolu. Nous vivons une agression continuelle à toutes les semaines, une agression par le bruit à l'extérieur de ma propriété, à l'intérieur de ma propriété et même les fenêtres fermées. Ce qui augmente le stress au détriment de la santé des résidents qui sont proches de ces phénomènes-là, de certains commerçants qui causent ce problème-là. Selon moi, vous avez juste à appliquer vos propres règlements municipaux selon les articles 15, 16 et 17 sur le bruit pour résoudre le problème final. Si vous n'appliquez pas vos propres règlements, vous allez créer un précédent, car ça va être un peu bordélique dans Hudson, parce que tout le monde va pouvoir se mettre un stand à l'extérieur puis jouer de la musique et propager le son entre voisins et jusqu'à Ridge en haut. Créer un précédent, tout le monde pourra faire du bruit au bout de la ligne. Je félicite le théâtre du village. Ils font des spectacles. La musique, le spectacle reste à l'intérieur de la pièce. Ça, c'est un respect du voisinage. Il ne dérange personne. On n'est pas contre. En tout cas, je félicite aussi les organisations du British Car Show qui ont choisi un endroit sécuritaire pour faire leur exposition d'auto. Je change un peu, je veux juste dire des félicitations. Et c'était sécuritaire et c'était bien ordonné. Tandis que l'autre exposition d'auto, c'était anarchique dans la rue Cameron. Il y avait des autos qui montaient, il y a des autos stationnés, le monde marchait dans le milieu. Je reviens à mon problème. On ne s'oppose pas à des événements spéciaux durant l'été. Nous ne sommes pas contre. Mais je trouve que vous avez perdu le contrôle de ces activités que vous permettez. J'ai juste à vous donner l'exemple, la journée d'Hudson, qui a été passée il y a une semaine et demie à peu près. C'était bordélique et non sécuritaire. On a eu l'exemple, la journée d'Hudson, je me pose beaucoup de questions sur la sécurité de ces événements, parce que je trouve que vous n'avez plus de contrôle. La musique était excessive. J'ai été prendre des marches jusqu'à Ridge en haut. On entendait la musique. Mais les résidents qui restent à côté, ils ont eu du drum pendant 5 heures de temps à pleine capacité et ça augmente le stress et c'est comme une agression continuelle qu'on vit. J'espère que vous allez comprendre ça une fois pour toutes. On a le droit de vivre ici à Hudson. Les commerçants se coupent l'herbe sous les pieds. Entre deux commerçants, ils se compétitionnent dans la musique. Ils se crient entre eux autres, dire « c'est à mon tour de jouer de la musique ». Et on entend ça de chez nous, on entend ça de l'intérieur de la maison. Vous avez reçu un enregistrement d'un autre voisin qui a enregistré le son dans sa maison et c'était épouvantable. Ma femme a enregistré aussi une partie de ça, très peu, mais c'est intolérable. Excusez-moi, ma question concerne tous les citoyens d'Hudson, à travers la municipalité, à tous les membres du conseil. Est-ce que vous accepteriez de la musique qui vous empoisonne votre vie dans vos propres maisons tout l'été? On voudrait bien vivre les fenêtres ouvertes, mais on ne peut pas. On s'enferme les fenêtres. On ferme les fenêtres pour ne pas entendre la musique. Et même les fenêtres fermées, ça brasse dans la maison. J'aimerais avoir aujourd'hui une réponse franche par chaque conseiller aujourd'hui. Vous êtes là présent, vous la mairesse. Est-ce que vous accepteriez ça comme voisin chez vous? Et même la population d'Hudson, est-ce que vous accepteriez ça chez vous? Suggestion, il y a des solutions. Regardez juste le bar chez Maurice à Saint-Lazare. Ils ont fait une salle de spectacle. Les spectacles sont à l'intérieur et c'est insonorisé. Je n'ai pas besoin d'entendre la musique du voisin 4 jours semaine et nous stresser et affecter notre santé. Merci.
Vous avez quitté le micro, donc je ne sais pas si vous voulez que je vous réponde.
Allez.
Donc, suite à nos différents échanges, en effet, on en a parlé à l'interne dans notre rencontre de travail avec les élus. Je pense que c'était le 1er ou aux environs de la fin du mois de juillet. Le 2 août, j'ai rencontré avec 2 des conseillers et aussi Marie-Jacinthe, on a rencontré un groupe des restaurateurs et des opérateurs de bar et de la brasserie. Et justement, on leur a fait part du fait qu'il y a des plaintes grandissantes et aussi qu'on a remarqué qu'il y a une escalation des événements et des niveaux de son. Donc, on leur a demandé de travailler avec nous parce qu'autrement, il faudrait qu'on impose des règlements qui sont plus stricts, parce que même si ces articles-là existent, ce sont des articles qui parlent de bruit, mais qui ne viennent pas qualifier quel niveau de bruit. Donc, en fait, il serait excusez-moi, je vais finir, il serait très difficile de faire soutenir ou de faire tenir ces articles-là, ou de demander même à la patrouille communautaire d'aller donner une infraction sur quelque chose où il n'y a pas des niveaux mesurables de décibels, et ça ne tiendrait pas en cours. Donc, de là, nous travaillons justement de manière rapprochée avec les opérateurs des bars, des restaurants et des alentours, à leur sensibiliser au fait que oui, il y a une qualité des milieux qui sont à respecter et il y a un moindre d'entente ou d'écoute à avoir avec le voisinage. Ils l'ont entendu, ça n'a pas été facile le premier 30 minutes, mais rapidement, ils nous sont venus avec des suggestions de comment ils allaient commencer à travailler d'eux-mêmes à améliorer la situation. On a remarqué, en effet, lors du jour de Hudson Day, qu'il y a eu des écarts, mais je les rencontre à nouveau le 15 septembre et ça sera un sujet qui sera à nouveau ramené. Une chose qu'ils nous ont demandé, c'est que les personnes qui ont des sensibilités et qui veulent participer à cette recherche de solutions les approchent directement et parlent avec eux pour justement qu'on détermine quelle serait la manière la plus acceptable. Ce que je comprends, c'est qu'il y a une certaine ambiance à Hudson. C'est peut-être pas le choix ou ce que tout le monde recherche, mais quelque part, on a un équilibre à aller chercher. Je vous avais dit, le 26 mai, quand on s'est rencontrés, arriver à un bruit zéro, ça n'arrivera pas. Mais il faut absolument que ça puisse être vivable.
C'est que vous permettez une salle de spectacle à ciel ouvert dans Hudson. C'est ça que vous me dites.
Je pense que ce n'est pas aussi extrême que ce que vous suggérez.
Je vous ai invité à venir chez nous constater ce qu'on vit. Il n'y a personne de vous qui est venu. Réalisez ça. Pensez à ça avant de voter quoi que ce soit. Limitez cette musique-là le soir du jeudi au dimanche. Vous n'accepteriez même pas ça chez vous. Soyez francs, une fois pour toutes. Dites-le. Vous ne l'accepteriez pas. Et même les commerçants qui font cette musique-là n'accepteraient pas ça.
Monsieur Marleau, je pense que c'est...
Non, je vais juste finir. Juste les commerçants n'accepteraient pas ça à leur demeure, un voisin de même. Merci.
Je pense que c'est important qu'on travaille ensemble à une solution au lieu d'imposer des règlements immédiatement. Merci. Is there a question online? No? Would you like to come to the microphone? No? Yeah. Please come to the microphone so that everyone can hear you. Thank you.
When you start the process of TPAC, you have rigid requirements of what you need to do, and you can pick a roof, windows, brick, roofing material, the overall look, landscaping. We presented the whole enchilada. Originally, I had a couple of roofs, a couple of roofing materials, a couple of bricks, and then I was clearly told to remove and only submit one. And to actually, as funny as it sounds, remove a prop car that was parked, just to give a scale of the roundabout and the house, because they thought that it was going to be a parking lot. So I, accommodated. I picked one roof material, one brick, removed the car, and I'm sure you could imagine how extremely difficult it would be to have one choice for many categories that would be presented to between 6 and 12 TPAC members and more than 6 and maybe less than 12 council members, and be able to get that box right in each of those categories that would please everybody. I'm the one spending $2+ million on a home, and already a couple of $1 million on property, consulting fees. So whilst I can appreciate, I've been reminded that this might go back and forth 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 kicks at the can, every time I have to go back to my architect and come up with another color or another roof or another building wall brick material, there's another 5, 10, 20, 30, possibly $30,000+, only to come back and maybe not please the majority of TPAC or the majority of council. And I'm finding that a little bit hard to swallow. And whilst I respect the charm the town has, our home is less than 20%, 19 point something percent of the entire property. We are so far back, most people won't see it. The best thing we've preserved is the opening of the driveway, which we didn't have to do, so everybody could have a view of the beautiful Aucun church. We have removed 2 driveways. People in the town, if you drive by, they have little gravel driveways just kind of sneaking onto their properties. I don't want to be the kind of neighbor or a member of this community that goes around eyeing everybody else's property and having to present to council or TPAC that, well, they're doing it, why can't we? I really made an extraordinary effort to present something that was extremely charming. And I don't know how many of the present council members have actually taken the time to go to our property. And I think had you, or if you have, thank you, would understand how we've respectfully put the home where it truly is already existing and needs to be. And I'm finding it very difficult to swallow. It's almost like taking a shot in the dark, trying to please so many people when all we ever were allowed to submit was 1 roof material, 1 brick type, and I'm going back to an architect who was passionate about his job and this town as well, and spending more money only to come back and say, hey guys, do you like this roof? Do you like this brick? And with a long process and thousands of dollars, you know what COVID has done to the building process in this province, all over the world for that matter. If I pick a brick that I'm lucky enough for you guys to all like, what are the chances am I going to get that much brick on time and that's affordable? There's a million, I'll go crazy girls. There's several shades of gray. You all know about that movie. But I'm never going to please everybody. I'm just not. And I'm disheartened. And not because you don't think I care about the community or I'm a good person, like Mayor Chloe, suggested. It's not personal. But it's starting to be personal.
So in response to your statement, excuse me, there are 2 orientations and several criteria along Main Road in that area. And you're right, in terms of site planning and siting of the building and respect of that placement and looking to keep the mature trees, you've absolutely nailed it. It's excellent. I think even in terms of scale, you've kept it also within, it's 1-story building, it is within keeping with what is there. You're correct. All of that is absolutely right on. I think the issue, and that's the part of the conversation you will have with Peter, is much more on the architectural style. So whether you had come with 3 different colors or materials, it's not for us to design the building. It is really for your architect to understand or to give us their best effort at how does that integrate within that area. And it was found that that type of architectural style is a little bit too streamlined. It's a little bit too stripped of the typical architectural detailing or articulations that we would see in that area. But I will let Peter have that conversation with you, but I want you to feel that we are absolutely in favor of all of the site planning and efforts that you have done, so you have succeeded. And so you're not that far off because the footprint is good. It's probably more, and should the building have more eaves or should anyway, it'll be up for you and your architect to work on that, but right now it's a little too it's hard to, it's like, it's dry, it's impersonal, and it just needs to soften up a little bit.
Well, when the trees are in foliage, you probably won't even see the house.
But it's about the architecture,
I get
right?
it.
It's not about using trees to
So
hide the
I'm hoping
architecture.
then I can have a conversation with, I believe Douglas Smith is the councillor in the district where our home is, and that if Peter has said that he will communicate with me, I need to clearly understand specifically what about the house doesn't fit.
Right, so
And
this
I
is
guess
where
I'm
Peter
not-
will
yeah.
run through the
Yep.
criteria with you and explain what's stuck on
Okay, so
each
is there a
criteria.
public piece of paper that, I want to get the word right, there's two Ps, planning program, is that right? Planning program?
SPAPE, is it two Ps? I guess it is. So site planning and architectural integration program.
So is there a list on
correct.
What kind of window, what kind of
No.
overhang is acceptable? So how am I going to get it right if there's nothing written down?
So this is where you'll go through those objectives and criteria, and Peter will explain what's stuck on each one of them.
Okay, so my next question, and last, do I start looking at my neighbors' houses and come up to Peter with, I don't know the number, but it's right on the bend, and it's extremely modern, and it's very tall, and it's all charcoal gray, and there are no eaves, which is a good idea because then the snow won't knock it down, regardless of the snow trap things that get knocked off anyway. There are many modern aspects.
But perhaps this is exactly what we're looking to deviate from. Maybe that is the character that is being lost. And remember that something that might have been accepted years ago is not necessarily.
No, this is a brand new build. So do I go with a little camera on the street and not trespass and take
Janine,
photos?
I suggest that you have that conversation. You
Yeah,
work
I
from
want
there.
to be clear so I'm not wasting another $25,000 on
It's
an
not for
architect.
Peter to design your house. It'll be up for your designers to do so. The point is he can serve as communicator, as the liaison between the work and the conversations that have happened at town
So
planning.
Peter, can I direct a question to you? Can I organize a meeting with my architect and the council or TPAC so that you can tell him what you want and he can design it, and that way we won't go back and forth?
I've already given you the next step, and that is to have a meeting with Peter. So let's move to that step, and then from there we'll move forward. All right? Thank you very much.
I'm first time here at the council meeting, and thank you. What she explained, I have not spent that amount of money, but I have the building on Cameron, and I don't see, there's nothing, what she's doing on her new home is nothing to what I'm doing on this little place on Cameron. It's a small street, and the two materials, I'm only using two materials. The two materials are, one is a stone. It's called Beyond Stone, and it's on several buildings, and I don't have to get a camera to go show you. I mean, if everybody looks just behind, it's in the condos behind Main Road, I would say, and what is it, Yacht Club, Yacht. So in the back there's some stone on that building, and there's other buildings as well that have the same stone. And for the front, the facade of my building, which was stucco, crumbling stucco that was there from, I don't know, I purchased the building back in 2008, 2006, and it was just falling apart. The stucco was full of water. It was falling down. You had shut a door. My tenants were complaining about it, and it was really due to be replaced. And the other material that I was replacing that stucco with is a Connect cell. So it's called LP. It's the same as that. And that right in front of me, when they renovated Shars, is the same material. The new building they just put on in front of the pub is that same material. The new building that's going up in front of the post office, they have a picture there. I don't know what architect that is, but it looks like it should belong in Ville de Hudson. That's where I work. And it looks very much, it doesn't fit Hudson at all. Yet that's going up. I don't have an issue with it. But what I'm doing is really making my place, my property, for my tenants, making them feel good and be proud to come into their store. And the store, the property I have, you know where it is, right? In front of Jupiter's. So you have two little stores there. And actually, since that's been going on, I applied for this permit in May. I spoke with a person named Mamadou and another person named Ev. And it's just, I can speak once a week with them, with Ev, and it's so difficult. I get a call back or an email at 3:30, and she's there till 4. And then with Mamadou, well, I had many conversations, and now he's gone. So whatever was said between him, that's sort of, I don't know, it's just so frustrating. And I started the renovations because he told me that I was allowed to change the windows as long as I did not need a permit, as long as the windows were the same size. Same for the doors, same for the balcony. I can go ahead and do that, no permit required. And the rest he had said in May, that if you want to do for the outside, send me the materials that you want. Just two, that's all. Removing the stucco and putting on the same materials that was in front of my place and the same little roof, because the other roof as well, it was horrible. I'm sure everyone's seen it, they know where I am. It's pretty short, a small building.
I've seen the
so why is
sequence
it that
of exchanges on your file.
Excuse me?
I have seen the sequence of exchanges on your file.
So there's only two materials. Why is it,
But I think there's more to this file, and I think in this instance, again, Peter will review it with you in greater detail, but my understanding from the debrief that I've received is that the present renovation of the facade is looking to change the materials on the front and not the sides. So you have...
I don't have to change the sides.
I beg your pardon?
Are you saying I should change the sides?
No, I'm saying that it makes it so that you have a clashing appearance on one front that is all new and reasonably modern versus something that is left old. I understand that your plan is to eventually... Excuse me, I'll finish.
Okay.
So I understand that you would like to eventually renovate the other facades, but at this point it's hard to know whether that work will get done.
No,
so that was one issue.
But it's wrong. There's only one facade. There's nothing to do on the sides.
I have read the exchange of emails.
Well, I know what I want to change on the building. I asked to change the facade, and that's where Ev got mixed up again.
But this is the issue. When you're changing one front and not the other side.
I don't need to change. It's all vinyl.
I understand, but it's not at all the same style of material, or, well, it's not.
Excuse me, every home, do you know how many homes there are with vinyl on the sides?
So, all right,
and
you do not want to hear what I have to share with you. You're confronting that as well, but I'm explaining to you why that is not something that is...
But it's not making sense when there's so many other homes that have the same material.
I'm sorry, we're looking to do better than what has been done in the past, and this is an area that is controlled by look and feel requirements. Maybe in other parts it is not, or maybe it came in before or after. So in this case, there is architectural controls in terms of look and feel, and I'm trying to share with you some of the elements that we're sticking, and if you don't want to listen to those, it will be unfortunate for you moving forward and trying to find a solution that will be adopted. So I encourage you to have that meeting with Peter, and we'll see where that leads to.
I just don't understand why the sides do not have to be redone. Are you asking that I put that same...
You have horizontal siding on the sides,
yes,
memory, and I think they're sort of cream-colored or skin-colored, maybe, and beige, moving to a white vertical board and batten look-alike panel, not at all the same type of material or the same orientation of the material, it is going to look very odd if it is not done on all sides. So the best would be to have a uniform treatment that actually matches on all three sides.
Okay.
Or four sides.
Well, we'll have a talk, I guess, and I can maybe get some pictures of some homes that have vinyl on the sides.
But that is not the ideal we should be reaching for. That just happens to be a situation.
It's 90% when I went to purchase the wood in the front, before even thinking of buying that wood. I mean, I spoke to people who work in the construction. I spoke to the owner of Castle, and he said this 90% of homes in Hudson, this is what they use, Connexel or Maybeck.
On all four sides.
But no, what they on their homes.
But very few people will do renovation to the front face and let the rest.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Especially,
anyway, I invite you to have a conversation with Peter.
Especially on commercial buildings, it's not always the case that people do four facades. And I don't need to do the facade on the sides, I mean, because it's been done, I guess, maybe 10 years ago. And I shouldn't change it.
And that is your opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion. Thank you. Are there any other questions? No? So, moving to section 12, adjournment of the meeting. I will need a mover. Reed Thompson, seconded by Benoit Blais, that the meeting be adjourned at 10:04 p.m. Are there any objections to this resolution? There are none. It is carried unanimously. On n'a pas besoin de la faire en français, je pense.